Hey guys, welcome back to the Ambrant DIY series. Good to have you with us. Today we're going to show you how to install a door handle or a passage set into a newly installed door. Okay, now it's just a passage set, it doesn't have a lock or anything, it's not a privacy set, but there's no real difference to installing them, so you can install one of those using this method as well. We're going to run through the tools and gear you're going to need to install it, and we'll show you how it's done. Let's get into it. Alright, so first up what you're going to want to do is measure up from the floor how high you want your handle. In our case we're going to be centering it in the centre mullion of the door here, so we're up just on 900 millimeters to our door handle height. Now depending on what the standard is in your area, it could be a metre, it could be 1200, and it all comes down to personal preference as well. So in our case we're going to install it directly in the centre of this, so I've already marked that up and it's 900 millimeters. Now what you're going to want to do is transfer that mark right the way around the door using your square. Okay. Next thing you're going to want to measure is our set that can do either 60 or 70 millimeters back set from the edge of the door here. Okay, that essentially means from the door to the center point of your lock is 60 mil. So in our case what I'm going to do is I'm going to set my square. It's been placed around the wrong way for whatever reason. I'm going to set my square to 60 mil because that's the back set we want, and I'm going to put a mark on there, a cross on there, and I'll do the same on this side over here. Next thing we want to do is we want to find our center point through here. Okay, now I know we have our door is 36 millimeters. So we're going to go straight down the middle of that, divide that in two, it's 18 mil. So we're going to put a mark through the guts there. Some locks are a little bit different to this one, but this is how we're going to install this. Okay, so that will end up being rebaited into there. Okay. And as you can see, our two handles. Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to drill a hole big enough to take that, but not so big that disappears into it. Alright, so we're going to use a 54 millimeter hole saw. Okay, as you can see, it's enough to take the internal workings of the lock, but not big enough that the flange won't cover it. Now for the other piece, we're going to need a 24 mil Speedbore bit, and we're going to drill a hole right through there so we can fit that into there. Okay, as you can see, it's just big enough to take the internal workings of that. Alright, so let's get into drilling that. We're going to drill a pilot hole both sides first, and then we're going to speedbore this, and then we'll get on to installing the lock. Alright, now just a little trick before you start drilling. Okay, if you've got an old piece of scrap timber, 15-20 mil thick, and another piece that'll fit under the door, what you can do, slide it under there and just create a wedge system. That'll stop your door moving while you work on it. Okay, so a little trick of the trade there for you. Alright, so first up we're going to start with a pilot hole coming in from both sides. Alright, so drill that through from both sides, just like that. We'll drill another one through here for our speedbore bit. That just guides the drill exactly where we want it while we're drilling our hole. Right, so next up you're going to want a decent power drill for this. Okay, I've put my hole saw, the man drill, into the drill chuck. And the reason we use the power drill is the battery drill, it'll just put too much pressure on it. You don't want to fry your tools. So we're going to use our pilot hole, and we're just going to slowly work our way Right, when you think you're roughly halfway through, come from the other side. Come back from the other side. Now the reason we do this is if you were to go straight through using the drill, you could blow out and end up having chunks of your door break off and it looks very ugly. So we tend to meet in the middle. Just like that. Alright, next bit you're going to want to do is get your 24mm Speedbore and drill a hole through there to meet up with the hole you've just drilled. Okay, so we place that into our pilot hole. Just remember to keep your drill nice and level, and you don't want it to drill up or down, because this will end up jamming your door hardware. Okay, and same that way. You don't want to drill and end up blowing out the side of the door here. So just very carefully. Alright, there we go. Alright, so next up, we want to mark out where our catch is going. We'll slip that into the hole we've just drilled. Alright, we want to make sure it's nice and square. Now what I usually do, you can use a pencil, mark around it, take it out, and then cut it. Or what I sometimes do, using a knife, just very carefully run around the edges of it. And that will score it enough, so when you come to chisel it out, check it out, you've got the outside already done. Next up, using a nice sharp chisel, I'm going to check it out. Try not to check it out too deep, because that will end up throwing off your centre back here. Okay, so just take a little bit at a time. Alright, so that's looking pretty good. Right, now using your battery drill, I've got a 2mm drill bit in there. We're just going to drill some pilot holes for the screws. Right in the middle of each hole there. And then put our screws in. Just like that. Right, so next up we're going to install the handles. We need to take out the screws. Put them in there. Take them out fully. Alright, so ready to install our handles. As you can see, I've taken the screws out, which means we'll be able to put it together and connect it up. Now we want our bolt to be set to 60mm, so this little piece here can move back and forth. We want it set closest that way, which is our 60mm setting. Okay. Then we're going to feed this through from the other side. Alright, so that's our handle there. Now to get to the screws on this one here, okay, as you can see we've got the holes ready to go, but we can't get to it. So what you need to do, using something like a punch, or they usually provide a key in the door kit itself, is pull the handle off. Okay, and what that allows you to do, around here, is a little sprig just there, and it allows you to pop the dust cap off. Right, so what it'll allow you to do is pop the dust cap off using a small screwdriver. Just flick it off, pop your dust cap off, then that will expose your screw holes. So what we can now do, fit that over the lock like so. and then fit our screws to connect the two sides up. Okay. Once you get them started, you can then... Now they can be quite fiddly at times, so just be careful not to cross thread them. Otherwise you may end up having to go down the shop and buying a new handle. Alright, so that's now fixed on there nice and tight. We can pop our dust cover back on. Like so. And then our handle, making sure to line up a little. Alright, so we're going to install the keeper now. What you want to do, close the door over to the jamb, and where the catch strikes the jamb, mark top and the bottom of it. Okay, so we know what height to do our keeper at. Okay. Next thing to do, because we know our jamb lines up flush with the edge of this door, we need to measure from this edge back to the catch. Okay. In our case, we're looking at 10 millimeters, 10.5 mil. Right, so what that means is over here, I'm going to now measure back 10.5 mils on here, and that'll give us where our hole for the catch for the keeper wants to be. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure back approximately 10 mil to there. Right, and then I'm going to also square the marks we put on this jamb through, like so. And that creates where our hole wants to be on the keeper. Okay, so that's the hole, and that's essentially what we're aiming at. What you can do is you can turn it inside out, or sorry, upside down, line up the edge of that tab there with the line you've just done, and that is where your keeper wants to be. Okay, make sure to center it on the lines, and then what you can do is mark around the outside edge of that, or like we did with the door, mark around the edge of it with a knife. Okay, and then that will give you where you want to check out, like so. Just being careful when doing these round edges. I'll mark them with a pencil and I'll come back over them. If you cut into the timber 2 or 3 millimeters with your knife, it essentially creates the outline of where you want to check out with your chisel. Right, so that's what our keeper will look like reversed. Okay, now what we want to do, mark out your hole. Right, so we've marked out our hole. Okay, now what you could do is you could mark around it and check that out using a chisel, check out a nice square hole, or something else you can do to save a little bit of time is using a Speedbore bit, about the same size, is drill it out using one of these. just like that. Now as you can see, when we put this back up, there's our hole. Okay, we just need to check out a little bit on the side. Right, so it turns out the camera battery died and missed me checking out the rest of the jam for the dust box. Okay, so what we initially did using a Speedbore bit, drilled a hole for the keeper, which fit nicely, but because this one came with the dust box, I decided to check it out. Alright, so we've checked that out and fitted that in. Now we're going to install the keeper. Okay, so what we do for that, same process as on the door. Drill a couple of little pilot holes for our screws. Like so. And we can install the screws for the keeper. Just like that. Right, so there you have it. We've installed the keeper. Okay. And our lock. And as you can see, it lines up nicely. So what I can do now that I've got that installed, I can now fit my door stops down here and press them hard against the back of the door when it's closed, and that will give us a nice firm finish. Well guys, that's how you install a lock on a door. Hope you found the video useful and interesting. Thanks for watching the Ambrant DIY series. We'll see you again soon. Cheers.